Hello, hey guys, welcome. And today I'm going to be explaining you guys how I made my robust sprint slash stamina system in Unreal Engine 5.4. The system is perfect, refined, check for all bugs. So basically what it does is it lets you sprint and it gives you stamina. So you see those numbers on the left, that's the amount of stamina you have. You can convert it into a bar if you want, like a cool UI later, but that's just, showing purposes. So if you sprint, you can see it goes down, and if you let go of sprint, it goes back up, returning back to 100, but not exceeding 100. And then quickly change the amount of time it takes, so I can show you guys what happens when it reaches 0. So now if you shift, it's going pretty fast, because I made it like that. So, and if you reach 0, well, most realistically, you're gonna lose your stamina. You're gonna stop. You can't sprint anymore, as you can see, and there's gonna be a timer for 5 seconds. That's basically a timer that lets you catch your breath, and it can regain back. So again, once you reach 0, you can't sprint anymore, but there's a timer for 5 seconds, and once the timer is done, you can sprint back. You gain your stamina. This timer, I guess that 5 second delay acts like you're catching your breath. You're very tired, like you're wheezing, you're coughing, and then you feel back. You get okay. You feel normal, and yeah, you can run back. So this is how I made it. So first off, I made a bunch of variables. Though the first variable I made is sprint speed. It's gonna be how fast you're gonna be running. The walk speed, how fast you're gonna be walking. I'll explain it more. And max energy, or this is stamina, max energy. You can call it what you want to call it. So max energy is like the maximum amount of energy. Current energy is, as it says, the current energy you have right now, or stamina, and the minimum energy is the minimum amount of energy you can get, which is 0. And can sprint is a variable that basically checks if you can sprint or not. So now let's go over here. Let's go over the custom events. So the first custom event is a start sprint. Start sprint is basically you set the max walk speed of the character movement to the sprint speed, the variable. And then stop sprint basically works the same, but sets it to the walk speed. Next is deplete energy. Deplete energy basically takes the current energy. So what's your current energy right now? And it subtracts 1. And then it clamps it because, example, if you keep on subtracting 1, then you might eventually get to negative values. So that's why clamping is really important. Basically, clamping is like setting a boundaries. That's what the minimum and maximum energy are for. And then the return value it sets the new current energy. Next is gain energy. Basically the same thing, exactly the same thing, but it's adding. You can see current energy, you're adding 1, and then clamping it and setting the current energy. And then we have no energy. No energy is basically what happens if you have no energy. So basically a branch and saying if your current energy is less than or equal to the minimum energy, which is 0. So if it's equal to, the less than shouldn't be necessary, because we did this clamping system. But just in case something goes wrong, the clamping system something goes wrong with the clamping system, it can be, that's why we put less than or equal to. So if it's less than or equal to the minimum energy, so if it's true, if it is less than or equal to, then can't sprint is going to be set to false. And stop sprint. Stop sprint is the custom event we made earlier. This one basically sets it back to the max walk speed, the walking speed. If false, then can't sprint is true. So these are the different custom events. So now let's go over to our input action. So so I sprint if started, then a branch. It's gonna be a branch, and the branch is gonna be checking if you can sprint, which is gonna be set to true automatically, because hopefully when you spawn in your game you're given max energy. And velocity, so velocity is basically you're getting the velocity and converting to vector length, and you're seeing if it's greater than 10. Though this is really important, because if you don't have this, if this doesn't exist, that means if you just stand still and you hold shift, then you lose stamina. But we don't want that. We obviously want you to lose stamina when you run. So that's why velocity, this purpose is really important. Those checking if both of those are, true. And if it's true, then you can start your sprinting. Start sprint. Remember, just set it to sprint speed. Set your max walk speed to sprint speed. But then once that happens, you're gonna clear timer by function name. So it's gonna basically clear timer, gain energy. This might be weird. I'm thinking why is this here, but I'll explain to you later. So we can ignore that. So clear timer, it's just clearing the timer, gain energy. Remember, gain energy is a function / custom event. Um, so yeah, it clears a timer and then it starts a new timer. Set timer function name, deplete energy. And deplete energy is 0.1 because I made it 0.1 so I can show you what happens if you reach 0. But normally I'll keep it to 1 and make sure looping is on. So this basically, as it says by the name, sets a timer. So it calls the function name. So once it has the function name, you have to make sure the function name is the same as you made a function or custom event. You can see it can be a function or custom event. It basically calls the function. So the function gets called, but one time every 0.1 seconds, and it's looping. So yeah, so that's basically what happens for started. Now completed is stop sprint. So stop sprint again, we saw that it stops your sprinting, and then it bears a branch. The branches can't sprint. So this is important because, example, if you can't sprint, then I'll show you what happens if you can't sprint. So can't sprint. So if you can sprint, then it goes over to here. So this clears the timer. So this is where it's a very important part is. So when this timer is set, this timer doesn't this timer doesn't stop. That's why we clear timer over here. So we clear timer to deplete energy. So we completely stop the timer, no continuation, and then we set a new timer by function name called gain energy. Same principle as this, but you're gaining energy. That's why we clear timer over here, so we can clear this timer and start this timer. Alright, now finally for false, if can't sprint, so this thing, can't sprint is false, then this goes all the way down here, and so does this, false, can't sprint. And this basically, so it stops the sprint, it calls a stop sprint custom event, so you stop sprinting, adds a retriggerable delay, so delay for 5 seconds. Again, this is the 5 second, you're wheezing, you're out of breath, that duration. And since it's retriggerable, not a normal delay, because it can be re-triggered while delay cannot be. So re-triggers it 5 seconds, and then you clear the timer by function name, and then deplete energy, and then gain energy. So actually, to make things more convenient, we basically do not need this. We can just hook it up to that, to make it more convenient. But I just did this just so you don't have to get confused. So yeah, and that's basically the entire sprint system. Really convenient, it works perfectly. I have no problems so far. But yeah, this is the system. Again, we can just check it out if you want. You can see you're walking normally, you got your flashlight on, boom boom. But if you start sprinting, you can see you fastly get tired, and your energy, stamina, whatever you want to call it, is going down, which is 0. You stop sprinting, and the 5 second timer goes. You're wheezing, and then there, you can sprint again. So yeah, the system is really good. We love it. I hope you guys enjoy it too. Hope you guys actually understood it. Actually, I don't know if I was going too fast or not, but yeah, so that's the system.